I don't mind them doing it. I just don't like it when they claim to be a meteorologist. My thought on that is that, if you're in a traffic accident and a paramedic comes up, you're not going to question their credentials if they're there to save your life. You are very appreciative for what they're doing for you. But the fact that they can help you, can even save your life, doesn't make them a doctor. You have to have the degree, the medical degree, to be able to call yourself a doctor. And that's kind of the way I feel about meteorologist. If you have a Bachelor of Science degree in meteorology, then you are a meteorologist. As much as I, loved the work, which has, been my life's work for, well, in December it'll be 45 years. There's a lot more to life than just your job, your career. I've always enjoyed traveling. I told you about that trip up to Alaska as a college student, and how that really got me intrigued about going to exotic locations. And I have been doing that ever since. I've traveled to all 50 of the U.S. states, and last year I completed a quest. I've now been to all 7 continents as well. The last 2 were around the world trip. I made it to Australia and Africa. Antarctica is usually the last one for most people. I got that back in 2005. So it is just a great joy of mine to travel. And when I travel, a lot of times it's as a tourist, but sometimes it's as a volunteer. I have worked with the Sierra Club, volunteering at various national parks, for the most part Big Bend and Guadalupe Mountains out in West Texas. And I do that just about every year, spend a week camping out, helping the Park Service with whatever they need, maybe removing old barbed wire fences, helping revegetate the desert, cleaning up dumps, working on trails. I've done all of that. And, it's a great way to give back when you love the outdoors as much as I do. In addition to that, I also volunteer with Meals on Wheels. I do that twice a month at least, and sometimes more often than that if they need a fill-in. I've been taking meals to seniors like us for over 20 years now. And then the other thing that I really enjoy is getting out to my ranch. We bought that about 25 years ago, about 80 miles southwest of Fort Worth. And I get down there at every opportunity, especially nice in the fall and the spring. Bluebonnets everywhere. I just love it out there. Of course, I do occasionally run into a rattlesnake out there. And usually they'll rattle, and I say, oh, okay, steer clear of him, and I'll move a different direction. But this last week, one of the other volunteer things I do is at Dogwood Canyon Audubon Center in Cedar Hill, one of my favorite places locally. It's almost like going to the hill country, but you're still in Dallas County. A lot of people don't know about that area, but the Joe Pool Lake area, the Cedar Hills State Park, and the Cedar Ridge and Cedar Mountain Preserves and the Dogwood Canyon. It's a great nature corridor with wonderful hiking trails, and I've been volunteering out there for years. And I was out there, for the past 3 weeks or so. I had been volunteering all around the parking area out in front of the building, pulling up ragweed. Because, I mean, who wants ragweed? It's an ugly, tall plant, and it takes over preventing the native grasses from growing in the prairie out there. So I'd been doing that for the better part of 3 weeks. And early this week, on Monday, I was out there pulling up ragweed, took a step back, and suddenly felt this sharp jab in my lower leg. And I was startled and thought, oh, wow, did I just get stung by a wasp or a scorpion or something? I jumped off to the side, made a little noise, yelped as I jumped, looked back, and no, it wasn't a scorpion. It was one of those rattlesnakes, but this one never rattled, and it was a big one. When it finally slithered away, I'd estimate 4 to 5 feet long, and afterwards I talked to the Audubon Society people, and the director there, Julie, told me that yeah, a couple of weeks ago they had seen about a 5-foot long rattlesnake, so it was probably the same one. And I was just extraordinarily fortunate. That's kind of strange to say when you've just been struck by a rattlesnake, but that rattler knew what it was doing. It was saving its venom for hunting so that it could get dinner, and didn't want to waste it on me. All it was trying to do was warn me, get me out of there. And I listened. When it struck me, I got out of there. I said, all right, this space is yours. And then I had to go to the ER and get it checked out. But, you know, I was really surprised. It didn't hurt that much, since there wasn't any venom involved. It was just a puncture. Only one of the fangs actually entered my leg. And I got to the ER. They asked me why I was there, and I said, I've just been bitten by a rattlesnake. Well, they didn't send me out to the waiting room. They took me right back into the ER, into a room, and within a couple of minutes I had an IV in, and there's a doctor examining my leg and asking me what had happened. And I told him I didn't think there was much venom involved, because it really wasn't hurting much. And he agreed. They drew a blood sample and tested me to make sure that you know, there wasn't anything in my blood, the proteins from the venom, and they said I was all clear. They wanted to keep me for 4 or 5 hours observation just to make sure that it didn't start swelling or getting any worse. But since that there evidently was no venom, it was a dry bite, I never needed any of the anti-venom medication. So I sat there for 4 or 5 hours, sent out a couple of social media posts on what had happened to me, and then that night that Channel 5 had me on the air talking about my experience. In addition, within the next 24 hours, I think it was 3 different radio stations had me on the air talking about it. So it was quite an event. Somebody asked me, got another item off your bucket list? Well, that never was on my bucket list, but let's hope I don't repeat it. So to all of you seniors out there watching, I hope you enjoy life as much as I have. This has been great. Whether you're retired, semi-retired like I am, I retired officially January of 2018. Since then, I've just been working part-time, kind of as a freelancer. I'm no longer an official employee of NBC5, but I still go on the air every weekend and fill in occasionally when Rick is off as well. But whether you're retired, partially retired, still working full-time, there's a lot out there to enjoy. And I just hope that the forecast for the rest of your lives is sunny. Sure, there will be occasional storms. We all have to face that, just like my rattlesnake. But, you know, we need that rain for the flowers and the grass to grow. Just be careful when that grass does grow. Look closely. Watch out for snakes. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. This is going to be a great program today.